That's right.
Shabbat shalom, kulam. Anime Palesh, Shakol, Tobachem, Hayom. I pray all is well with you all today. Reshiamiro, Telatet, Kabod, Shabbat, Yahweh, Eloah, Abraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov. I first want to go out and praise to the Most High Power of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And I pray that something that I go over today with you all, moves us down the right path, individually and collectively. So if you would, get ready to take some notes. We're gonna have a few things to go over, and there's gonna be a few things within this um, that I believe can help us as a people and us individually. And the title, don't beat me up. There is no king in Israel. There is no king in Israel. And some of my scholars out there, I know you all know where I'm going. We're going to go to the book of Judges, Shaphatim, and we're going to start in chapter 1. We're going to start in chapter 1. For those that's listening, because I did get a question, I think it was last week or the week before, you might hear me say things like Adonai. Typically when I read, some people say things like Bore, Yoter. Some people say myself, Adonai.
The Father.
Especially when I'm speaking out to individuals and I'm reading, I'll say that Adonai is like my master in a sense, right? So if I'm saying that, you know what I'm saying. I'm talking about the Most High. That's the only word that you'll hear that's attributed to the Most High in regards to like Adon and Adonai. All right. Verse 1, chapter 1. It happened after the death of Yehoshua that the children of Yisrael inquired of Adonai, or the Most High, saying, who should go up for us first against the Canaanites to wage war against them? All right. So a little background. At this point, Joshua is gone, right? He was leading the people. And typically when you think of people outside of you, especially if you're people that's, have a reputation of defeating, they won't mess with you. And if you have some wisdom within the people that are trying to take over at the point that your leader passes, you got to make a move first to kind of set yourself in good position, right? Not to look weak. So at this point, you have the people of Yisrael coming together, right? Now, when they come together, they're inquiring of the Most High. So it's steps behind inquiring of the Most High. A lot of times it's not taught today, but it's different ways of that being the case. One being the case, they could have come together and casted lots. We will read about that. They could have came together working as one man or one mind. I might go over that one day in a lesson called One Man that I have. But acting as one man, so they have to be united in order for something to work, right? So we're going to read what happens when they do that. It says, who should go up first against the Canaanites to wage war against him, right? So this is the children of Israel. The Most High, Adonai said, Judah should go up. Behold, I have delivered the land into his hand. Okay, so a cause and effect happened. The Most High is responding to them through the inquiry they have, and it's due to them moving together, right? And we're going to see that. Judah or Yehuda said to Simeon, his brother, so this is the tribe of Simeon and Yehuda, right? So it's not the actual person. Go up in battle with me for my portion, and let us wage war against the Canaanites. Then I too will go with you for your portion. So at this point, we know that Simeon doesn't have a portion of themselves per se, right? So Judah is going to give them something to add to what they had. But as you notice, the Most High told Judah to go up. Some people will have an argument as to, well, as we saw when we was reading Numbers the other week, that the Most High had told specifically an individual to go. So why are you asking someone else to go? All right. But if you are operating in the instruction of the Most High, if it's not against what he said and you fulfill it, we're going to see what happens. All right. Let's keep going. So Simeon went with him. Yehuda, verse 4, attacked, and Adonai delivered the Canaanite and the Perizzite into their hand. They struck them down at Bazak, 10,000 men. Verse 5, they found Adonai Bazak in Bazak and battled against him, and they struck down the Canaanite and the Perizzite. Adonai Bazak fled, and they chased after him. They seized him and cut off his thumbs and his big toes. Adonai-Bezek said, 70 kings with their thumbs and big toes cut off, used to glean under my table as I did. So Elohim requited me. So what's happening right now, if you look at the whole history of Yisrael, you don't see them going in this matter. The way that they're dealing with him, cutting off his thumbs, cutting off his big toes. But it's a reason as to why they did that. The way that he operated with those before him, the kings before him, right? They brought him to Jerusalem and said, die there. Verse 8, the children of Yehuda then waged war against Jerusalem. They conquered it and stuck it down by the edge of the sword, and they set the city on fire. Afterward, the children of Yehuda descended to wage war against the Canaanite who inhabited the mountain, the south, and the lowland. All right. So what we're seeing here is we've seen a glimpse of victory when they came together. But when we go down to verse 27 within this chapter, it starts to deal with the other tribes: Manasseh, Ephraim, Zebulun, Asher, Naphtali, and Dan. And when you're looking at these individuals, we're not going to read this portion, but we're seeing that they're not moving or coming together to fulfill what it is the Most High wanted them to do. All right? They're actually allowing the inhabitants to stay amongst them. They're not destroying anything. They're not removing them. They're not doing anything to cause the people to not be moved by the influence of these individuals that's inhabited with them. So we'll read one of them, verse 27, just to give you an idea of what I'm speaking of. Manasseh did not drive out the inhabitants of Beth Shean and its towns, Ta'anach and its towns, the inhabitants of Dor and its towns, the inhabitants of Ibleam and its towns, and the inhabitants of Megiddo and its towns. The Canaanites were determined to dwell in this land. So these other tribes did not do what it was that Yehuda and Simeon had did. All right. Let's go down to Shephatim or Judges. And we're going to go to chapter 2. We're going to start at verse 1. All right. My version says an emissary, but it should be malak, which is messenger. A messenger of Adonai went up from Gilgal to Bochim. He said, I brought you up from Mizraim, and I brought you to the land that I swore to your forefathers. And I said, I shall never annul my covenant with you, but you shall not seal a covenant with the inhabitants of this land. So as we was reading in the chapter before, this is something that the Most High had actually said previously. We see that Yehuda had inquired because they knew what was going to happen at this point once Yehoshua was gone. So we had some individuals that was wise at that particular moment. The rest of the tribes, they didn't. They were okay with just those inhabitants being amongst them. They fulfilled actually what the script spoke on it. That's what we see the Most High saying right now, right? Verse 2, but you shall not seal a covenant with the inhabitants of this land. You shall break apart their altars, but you did not hearken to my voice. What is this that you have done? So I also said, I shall not chase them out before you, and they will be unto you as thorns in your sides, and their mighty ones will be a trap for you. So the Most High is saying this, he has said this. Where did he say this at? All right, you all hold your page, don't move. I'm gonna take us to Numbers chapter 33. Give a little history behind it. Numbers chapter 33. And I'm going to go to verse 50. But hold your marks. Numbers 33 and verse 50. And it's going to be 50 through 56 if you wanted to write it down. All right. And this is what the Most High was speaking of in the chapter that we're in right now. It says, Adonai spoke to Moshe in the plains of Moab by Jordan at Jericho, saying, speak to the children of Yisrael and say to them, when you cross the Jordan or the Jordan to the land of Canaan, you shall drive out all the inhabitants of the land before you, and you shall destroy all their prostration stones. All their molten images shall you destroy, and all their high places shall you demolish. So now we get the idea as to, in Joshua 1, what Judah, when they were inquiring for the Most High at this point, giving them the permission to go ahead and do that, why they did it. Some of these individuals had to have knowledge and remembrance of this very thing that was said by Moshe, right? Verse 53, you shall possess the land and you shall settle in it. For to you have I given the land to possess it. You shall give the land as an inheritance by lot to your families. To the many you shall increase in its inheritance, and to the few shall you decrease in its inheritance. Wherever its lot shall fall, this shall it be. According to the tribes of your fathers shall you inherit it. A side note I want to throw in there, it was custom of us to do things such as casting of lots. It was things that we did with the Urim and the Thummim. So that's another topic. Just in case it was people that teach us against it, I am trying to bring out a few things right here. Verse 55, but if you do not drive out the inhabitants of that land before you, those of them who you leave shall be pins in your eyes and thorns in your sides, and they will harass you upon the land in which you dwell. And it shall be that what I meant to do to them, I shall do to you. All right. So now we're going back to chapter 2. Going back to chapter 2. Now we're seeing what the Most High verse 3 is saying. So I also said I should not chase them out before you, and they will be unto you as thorns in your sides, and their Elohim will be a trap for you. All right. So this explains in Judges 1 what was going on. We're going to keep going. Verse 4. It happened that when the Malak of Adonai spoke these words to all the children of Yisrael, the people raised their voices and wept. They named that place Bochim, or crying, and they brought offerings there to Adonai. Yehoshua had sent the people away, and the children of Israel had gone every man to his heritage to possess the land. The people served Adonai all the days of Yehoshua and all the days of the elders who outlived Yehoshua. So at this point, it's giving you a glimpse of the past, right? So all the days of Yehoshua, they were serving. They was doing what the Most High had said, right? But we see something changing once Yehoshua died or Joshua died. All right, let's keep going. The people served Adonai all the days of Yehoshua and all the days of the elders who outlived Yehoshua, who had seen all the great work of Adonai, which he had done for Israel. So it's a pattern that's happening right now, and we're going to continue to see that these people, these elders who was with Yehoshua, the people were still being obedient during this time, right? They saw the works of what the Most High did through Moshe. They saw it being carried out through Yehoshua, right? So as long as they see something, as long as we see something sometimes, then we will continue to do. It's kind of like what we was talking about earlier when things are good happening, that's when we want to praise the Most High. But when things are bad, that's when we turn our back. Bad things will happen, but it's how you operate in it. Are you still going to the Most High? Are you still inquiring to the Most High? And then are you still carrying out what the Most High brings forth? And that's what we saw in Judges chapter 1, verse 1. Let's keep going. Verse 8. Joshua, son of Nun, the servant of Adonai, died at the age of 110 years. They buried him within the borders of his heritage in Timnath Heres in Mount Ephraim, north of Mount Gaash. That entire generation as well was gathered into his forefathers. A new generation arose after them that did not know Adonai, nor the deeds that he had performed for Yisrael. I want to stop there. This is a great example as to why we see us today a lot of times failing. We have leaders that are doing the will of the Most High, and we're not leaving anything for the next generation to continue to fulfill what was before them, right? What was successful before them. So now we have individuals today, just like here, that have no knowledge on how to operate, and they're just left to fend for themselves and to guess, right? So I'm encouraging us that we try to leave things that those after us don't have to guess. And sometimes it's leaders that do it on purpose, and then it's sometimes that it's leaders that just don't think to do it. Prince said something about having life insurance earlier, having things in place. So if you was to leave, that's exactly what's happening right now. This things wasn't in place to carry it on. Moshe made sure something was in place through the spirit of knowledge of the Most High, putting Yehoshua in his presence to carry out what was before him. That's what Prince was talking about earlier. That's what this, with the life insurance, that's what this is talking about now as an example of us not to do. And we're going to continue to read and see what I'm speaking of. Verse 11, the children of Yisrael would do what was evil in the eyes of Adonai and will worship the Baalim. Now, I would say they were doing what was evil in the Most High because sometimes it's the nature of people, but at the same time, they didn't have something set in stone or a person there to force them righteously to carry out what was before, right? They will forsake Adonai and Elohim of their forefathers who took them out of the land of Mizraim and followed the mighty ones of others from among the mighty ones of the peoples that were around them. They will prostrate themselves to them and anger Adonai. Remember that part of prostrating. They will bow themselves to something else. Why would they bow themselves to something else? Something that seemed more beneficial, something that was more desirable, something that was foreign to them. They will prostrate themselves. The Most High didn't like that. We're going to see an example as we continue going, right? And another way that you can look at it, it's not necessarily just going into a bow position. It's deeper than that, all right? But we're going to keep going. Let's go down to verse 16. Then Adonai will set up judges who would save them from the hand of their plunderers, but they will not hearken to their judges either, for they will stray after the mighty ones of others and prostrate themselves to them. They will turn away quickly from the path that their forefathers had traveled. To hearken to the commandments of Adonai, they did not do so. Because why? Their hearts weren't already in it. When you think of Eli and Shemuel, he was being raised in it. He was being trained. He was learning the process. He was learning how to serve the Most High. In that same scenario dealing with Shemuel, we saw that it said the Most High, that he did not know the Most High, right? It said at that point he didn't know the Most High. Once the Most High called towards him, that's when he was able to understand and know all the things that was put forth before. So right now they're not understanding what they're doing wrong. Even when a person is raised up in front of them, they can't even recognize. They're not even recognize that the Most High set these judges before them. And that's what we're seeing today. A lot of us in Yisrael are not recognizing the righteous elders, the righteous leaders. Even if we're seeing that they're doing the works, we're not understanding it because we don't understand the culture before us. We don't understand the processes to attain these things. We don't understand what's required for us to be successful. We're just reading and we're coming up with our own thoughts. We're moving in our own ways, right? And we're going to continue to see that as we go. Verse 18, when Adonai would set up judges for them, Adonai would be with the judge and he would save them from the hand of their enemies all the days of the judge. Why? Because that judge, that individual who was set up by the Most High, is a righteous individual. We read before, it said the children of Yisrael in verse 11 would do what was evil in the eyes of the Most High. But do you think in their mind they were doing evil? Do you think that everybody in their mind at that time thought they were doing evil? Right? Sometimes in our mind, we come up with our own thoughts as to what's evil and what's righteous. But when we see that at this point, he still was present with them because of this righteous judge. All right. But then it would happen that upon the death of the judge, they would turn back and be even more corrupt than their forefathers. Why are they becoming more corrupt? Because they're continuing to indulge in those that are outside of us. So they continue to learn the ways of these individuals. And then us being a people of talent, a people of knowledge, a people of resources, quote unquote, we then learn how to do evil better than the people we're learning from. All right. So it said they become more corrupt than their forefathers, to follow the mighty ones of others, to worship them, and to prostrate themselves before them. They will not omit any of their misdeeds or their stubborn ways. Right? Stiff-necked, stubborn. Let's jump down to Shoftim chapter 3. We're going to start at verse 1. We're going to start at verse 1. These are the nations that Adonai let remain to test Yisrael through them, all those who did not know all the Canaanite wars. All right. So these individuals, at this point, the Most High is allowing them to be tested, right? Give them an opportunity to, even though they're being tested amongst the inhabitants that's among them, you can still push forth to be righteous. So that's why the scripture is telling us that he's going to test them, right? But we're going to see what they do. They remain only so that the generations of the children of Yisrael would know, to teach them warfare, right? So in the midst of them being amongst these inhabitants, they're going to have to learn to fend for themselves, defend themselves, right? Because even if you are righteous, you got to know how to fight. So we got a lot of people today that we know the book, we have certain strengths about us, but a lot of us don't know war. A lot of us don't know how to protect our community. A lot of us are not practicing these things, so that when this test do come amongst us, are we really going to be able to fight? Are we really going to know how to move if we have elders amongst us, right? How to get them safely across wherever we need to go, within our community or outside of community? Right now, we are at a point of being tested because we have been disobedient to the Most High. So since our forefathers were disobedient to the Most High, we are getting the we're getting the aftermath of what was done before us. All right. So now we're getting tested to see how faithful and how righteous we're going to be with the Most High. See if we can come together as a people, right? Because we saw that when they came together, that is when the Most High spoke to them. All right. Verse 3. The 5 governors of the Philistines, all the Canaanite, the Sidonite, and the Hivite that dwell on Mount Lebanon, from the mountain of the plain of Hermon until the approach of Hamath. All right. They were to test Yisrael from them, to know whether they will hearken to the commandments of Adonai. If they was going to stay strong and faithful no matter what. Now I'm putting you out there, right? Let's see if you're going to stay strong and continue to keep the commandments of the Most High. Stay strong or faithful, even through your demise. Are you still going to stay faithful? Which he commanded their forefathers through the hand of Moshe. Verse 5. So the children of Israel dwelt among the Canaanite, the Hittite, the Amorite, the Perizzite, the Hivite, and the Jebusite. Right? The Israelites took daughters for themselves as wives and gave their daughters to their sons, and they served their mighty ones. So we see an instance of this same situation in Devarim, chapter 7, right? I want you all to hold here. I'm going to go to it for us. I want you all to hold here. And I'm bringing this out for a reason too. Because these are specific nations that the Most High is talking about, right? And these are the nations that are amongst the Canaan, right? And in Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 1, it says, when Adonai your Elohim will bring you to the land to which you come to possess it, and he will thrust away many nations from before you, the Hittite, the Girgashite, the Amorite, the Canaanite, the Perizzite, the Hivite, and the Jebusite, 7 nations greater and mightier than you, and Adonai your Elohim will deliver them before you, and you will smite them. You shall utterly destroy them. You shall not seal a covenant with them, nor shall you show them favor. You shall not intermarry with them. You shall not give your daughter to his son, and you shall not take his daughter for your son. For he will cause you, your child, to turn away from after me, and they will worship the mighty ones of others. Let's stop there. That is what we're seeing right here in Judges. We're seeing that in Judges 1, we saw that Yehuda exactly inquired of the Most High, and these things that happened to those individuals, which was Manasseh, Ephraim, Zabulon, Asher, Naphtali, and Dan, they allowed that with the individuals that inhabited the spaces that they were in. They did not keep the commandments of the Most High, right? They intermarried with them, and it caused them to not keep the commandments. So that's why the Most High specifically spoke on these individual nations. All right, let's go ahead and go back to Judges chapter 3. Judges chapter 3. And we're going to jump down to 7. The children of Yisrael did what was evil in the eyes of Adonai, and they forgot Adonai their Elohim. How did they forget him? Because this was taught. Moshe had told them these things, right? Yehoshua had told them these things, but only one of the individual tribes in a company with Simeon knew to uphold these things, right? at this particular moment. So they forgot because it was taught to them. But it also, with the new generation, they weren't aware of it. Okay. So the children of Israel did what was evil in the eyes, and they forgot Adonai the Elohim and worshiped the Baalam and the Asherah trees. Right? The wrath of Adonai flared against Yisrael, and he delivered them into the hand of Cushan Rishathaim, king of Aram Naharaim, and the children of Israel served Cushan Rishathaim for 8 years. We can learn from this, right? Things that continue to happen to us as a people is due to us serving things outside of the Most High, allowing these things to take precedence over the Most High. But it's one thing that we're about to see in verse 9. The children of Yisrael cried out to Adonai, and Adonai set up a savior for the children of Yisrael, and he saved them. What are we seeing right now? What is the pattern that we're seeing? Every time we come together, anytime that we come together, the Most High is responding to us. They're backpedaling, they're failing, but then they're crying out together. That's the part that I want to point out the most. I'm not pointing out the part that they're crying out when something is not going their way. They're crying out when these things, these atrocities and things are happening to them. The part that I'm pointing out, because honestly, they should be crying out all times, as we spoke on it earlier. But the part that I'm pointing out is the fact that they're coming together and the Most High is responding to them. The Most High is giving them what they're asking for because they're in unison. All right? And Adonai set up a savior for the children of Yisrael, and he saved them. Othniel, or Nathaniel, son of Kenaz, Caleb's young brother, the spirit of Adonai was upon him, and he judged Yisrael. I like this part because in order to judge righteously, balanced, fair, in order to judge in wisdom, right? The spirit, a certain spirit of the Most High has to be upon this individual. Because if you are not, if this spirit or this certain spirit of the Most High is not upon you, then you won't thrive as a people. Your people is not going to thrive. It's a more likely chance that they won't thrive, I should say, because I won't put the Most High in the box. The Most High can deal with individuals and move them. All right. And at this point, we see that the land in verse 11 was tranquil for 40 years, and Othniel, son of Kenaz, died. All right. And as we know, when you continue to go down Judges 3, they continue to go back to their evil ways. They continue to do greater evil than those even amongst them. And then when they're at a hard moment, when they're getting, defeated, when they're getting harmed, at this point, the Most High hears them when they call. All right. Let's go down to Judges 4. Chapter 4. Judges chapter 4. And we're going to go to verse 23. Verse 23. So the story behind Judges chapter 4 is dealing with Deborah. Deborah was a judge in Israel, also a prophetess. We see that, I'll just read it, verse 23. On that day, Elohim subjugated Jabin, king of Canaan, before the children of Yisrael. The hand of the children of Yisrael became progressively harsh over Jabin, king of Canaan, until they destroyed Jabin, king of Canaan. And they did this through the leadership of Deborah, right? We see that this was done through the leadership of Deborah. We also see that Yael, or Jael, some will say, right? We see two individuals, both of them being women, both of them being wise and protecting their people, right? And now we're going to see that the Most High has came in to be in their presence, and Deborah is going to explain to us in chapter 5 what is one of the main antidotes or things that would allow the Most High to do what he wants to do in the first place, and that's be with us. All right. I'm going to start at chapter 5, verse 1. It says, Deborah sang, as well as Barak, son of Abinoam, on that day, saying, when vengeances are inflicted upon Yisrael, and the people dedicates self, bless Adonai. When the people dedicate themselves, the Most High will put people in our presence. The Most High will put people in our presence as a people to help us to overcome. The Most High will stand in front of us. The Most High will do the things that he promised Moshe, our forefathers, and everyone before us that were righteous, as long as we are dedicated, right? But we see individuals in the book of Shoftim in the beginning that weren't dedicated, and we saw what took place. We saw that the Most High allowed them to be tested, and that was for the sake of us to prove to the Most High that we will keep his commandments. So the boy right now is letting us know to be dedicated. To be dedicated. All right? Let's go down to verse 9. It says, my heart is with the lawgivers of Yisrael who are devoted to the people. Bless our time. So we have lawgivers within the people, right? We even have individuals today that are judges, right? But are they intentionally devoted to the people? It's a difference with being someone that claims to be a leader, someone that claims to be a judge, someone all to be devoted to the people. We know that they are not of great benefit. We read about that last week, right? Those that are known before the womb are benefits to people. And we're seeing that Deborah is backing that up, showing her heart is with all givers of Israel. And we know that the Most High's heart is with the lawgivers or the law upholders of Israel if they are devoted to the people. All right. Let's go down to verse 31. Verse 31, chapter 5 says, so may all your enemies be destroyed, O Adonai, and let those who love him be like the powerfully rising sun. And the land was tranquil for 40 years. Right? So those of us that love the Most High are going to fulfill that commandment. We see the examples of our people backsliding, wanting to fulfill their own will, carrying out their own will. And those things did not work out good for our people. We saw that in the time of Joshua, when it was passed down to him, the people that were going to do to you the same. Numbers 13 and 14, when they tried to carry out their own will, that will was null and void already, right? So Loving the Most High is fulfilling through the good and through the bad, even through the moments that he's testing you. He wants to see and make sure that you're going to fulfill the commandments that he put forth. All right. Let's go down to chapter 6. And we're going to start at verse 1. The children of Yisrael did what was evil in the eyes of God. So we're starting to see a pattern. We're starting to see a pattern every time a leader is leading, and pattern that but what we're not seeing, and I'm not saying that this is not the case, but what we're not reading is something that left. We're not reading that. The places that we did read that was through Joshua and Moshe. Joshua continued what it was that Moshe put forth and gave us through the time. And here, we're seeing that these leaders will leave, they will revert back to their ways. But we're not seeing that something is left for them to continue.
I think he's out for a minute. He'll be right back in.
Am I back?
Yes.
It dropped for some reason. I don't know why. All right. So what I left off at, I believe that we're seeing that this is the new generation coming in, and a new generation that did not see the works and the great things that the Most High did not see the wars that was overcame or fighting that was overcame through to Joshua. They did not see these things. This is a new generation. Okay. Let me see where I left off at, because I continued going until I noticed that I dropped. All right. I'll read verse 1 again. The children of Yisrael did what was evil in the eyes of Adonai, so Adonai delivered them into the land of Midian for 7 years. Right? The hand of Midian grew powerful over Yisrael. In the face of Midian, the children of Yisrael made themselves the dugouts that are in the mountains and the caves and strongholds. It happened that whenever Yisrael would sow, Midian would ascend, as well as Amalek and the people of the east, and they will overrun it. This is all prophecy. We see this happening. This is spoken about in Devarim, right? When we're not keeping the commandments, the first verses 1 through 15, right? Deuteronomy 28, we're not upholding that, and we're not seeing that we're the people on top. So we're seeing that whenever Yisrael would sow, someone else would ascend, right? And that's due to not keeping the commandments. That's due to not carrying out with good intention the commandments of the Most High, not loving the Most High. They would encamp against them and destroy the produce of the land until the approach of Gaza. They will leave no sustenance in Yisrael, nor sheep, nor ox, nor donkey. For they and their livestock will ascend with their tents, and they will come as abundantly as a locust swarm. They and their camels were countless, and they came into the land to destroy it. So this is similar in our neighborhoods today. We see this all throughout the U.S. in the so-called Black community. Everybody coming into our community, and they thriving, and we're not as a community, as a people, right? But what would happen if we dedicated ourselves to the Most High? What would happen if we truly dedicated, right? Praise the Most High, give unto the Most High. For our brother that came on today, he spoke on having to come back into it, right? Being more intentional with what it was that we need to do. What if we all did that? What the wisdom that he brought out? What if we all did that? I think if we all did that, we'll see in these examples that every time we came together in the right spirit, one mind, the Most High answered us. But we have to come together as one man. All right. Let's continue reading. Is there any questions before I continue? We're halfway through it. Is there any questions? I want to stop before I continue. Is there any questions that anyone have? None? All right. Gabriel Autumn, you have your mic unmuted. You got a question? All right. Let's keep going. Verse 6. Yisrael became very impoverished because of Midian, and the children of Yisrael cried out to Adonai. Once again, they cried out. They cried out. So it happened that when the children of Israel cried out to Adonai concerning Midian, that Adonai sent a man, a prophet, to the children of Israel, and he said to them, "Thus says Adonai Elohim of Israel, I brought you up from Israel, and I took you out of the house of slavery. I rescued you from the hand of Mizraim and from the hand of all your oppressors, and I drove them away before you and gave you their land. I said to you, I am Adonai Elohim. You shall not fear the mighty ones of Amorite, in whose land you shall dwell." But you voice. That was very important right now. At this moment, the Most High is speaking, telling them not to fear, right? But through that not fearing, you also have to do. There are many variables when it comes to serving the Most High. And I think the number one variable is the intent, being intentional, and also carrying out the will of the Most High through the commandments and staying consistent. And we see that they have been inconsistent. Every time a leader was there, they was fine. When the things was going their way, they were fine. Then as soon as this leader left and no one could keep them accountable, they changed. They were inconsistent. So intentional, consistency, and progress during serving the Most High through the commandments. All right? Let's keep going. Verse 11. A messenger of Adonai came and sat under the elm tree in Ophrah that belonged to Joash, the Abiezrite. His son Gideon was threshing wheat at the winepress to hide from Midian. The Malach, or messenger of Adonai, appeared to him and said to him, Adonai is with you. So why is the Most High with him? O mighty hero, he says. Why is the Most High with him? He sees something in him. He sees something in him. He sees the intent, right? He sees what's going to happen through him. And the Most High can see it through the intent and through the consistency. Gideon said to him, I beg you, my Lord, if Adonai is with us, why has all this happened to us? And where are all his wonders of which our forefathers told us, saying, behold, Adonai brought us from Egypt, O Mizraim. For now, Adonai has deserted us, and he has delivered us into the grip of Midian. Now you have to imagine, this is probably what most of them were thinking. Yeah, we heard these stories. This is all good, what happened to you all, but we haven't seen it. We're not benefiting from it. We're not getting any of these things that you all got, right? And that could have played a part to the lack of their faith, but it's not an excuse to not be obedient to the Most High, the Creator, the eternal power, right? But we have Gideon asking these questions. He's begging of him. Why has all of this happened? Right? Why has all of this happened? Behold, Adonai brought us out of Egypt. For now, Adonai has deserted us, and he has delivered us into the grip of Midian. This isn't wrong what he's saying, that he deserted him, and he has put them in the grip of the Midianites, right? But he technically didn't desert them. He's the Most High, and he keeps his word. And he told them what was going to happen. But the thing that sucks is, if we look at today, our children, our family, the things that take place with them is going to be based off of what we do before them. A lot of things that we do before those after us, a lot of things that we do is going to affect those after us, right? So he's not wrong asking this question. He's not technically wrong. But we're going to see something with him. We're going to see, even with this question, even with this thought that he's having, we're going to see how he continues, if he's going to stay consistent, right? Or if he's going to backpedal. Verse 14, then Adonai turned to him and said, go with this strength of yours, and you, behold, I have sent you. I am your strength, but you have a certain strength that I see in you, right? You have a certain strength that I see in you, and I'm going to use you to carry out my will with the strength that I'm going to add on you, right? Behold, I have sent you. Verse 15, he said, I beg of you, Adonai, with what shall I save Yisrael? Behold, my 1,000 is the most impoverished of Manasseh, and I am the youngest of my father's house. So we know and we see that his reluctancy in the matter is due to age, due to not believing in himself, right? Due to seeing the people that he have amongst him. But the Most High doesn't care about that. The Most High doesn't care about that at all. The Most High still is going to carry out his will, and it's going to be up to us to listen or not to listen. It's going to be up to us to be like those that went against the Most High in Numbers 13, Numbers 14, or to be like Yehoshua and Caleb, right? To still fight and still bring this information and carry out the information to the people, no matter what. It's up to us. Let's keep going. We're going to jump down to, no, we're going to stay here. Let's stay here. Adonai said to him, for I shall be with you, and you shall strike down Midian as if it were a single man, right? 17, he said to him, if I have now found favor in your eyes, then perform a sign for me that it is you who speaks with me. Please do not depart from here until I return to you. I shall bring forth my tribute and place it before you. He said, I shall remain until you return. Some people will teach that him asking this question, he does not have faith. Christians will teach that him asking this question, he does not have faith, right? But I look at this as him not wanting to make a move without inquiring of the Most High, as they did in Judges chapter 1. In Judges chapter 1, inquiring before making a decision, before making a move. And that is what I see Gideon is doing right now. Please show me. Let me know, O Most High. Verse 19. Well, verse 18 again. Please do not depart from me here until I return to you. I will bring forth my tribute and place it before you. He said, I shall remain until you return. I will not make a move until you return. I will not make a move until you return. How many of us make moves impatient, right? That's what we saw. This is all connected. Everything that we're reading right now is still connected to what the people did with Moshe. When he told them not to go, what are you doing? you all will lose. And they still move. But Gideon, if he heard of that matter, learned from it. I'm not going to move. I'm going to stay and remain here until you return. Right? So Gideon went inside and prepared a young goat and matzos from an ephah of flour. He put the meat in a basket and put the broth in a pot. He brought it out to him beneath the elm and presented it. The Malak of Elohim said to him, take the meat and the matzos and place them on that rock and pour out the broth. And he did so. This might be something small to people, but these are instructions being given to him, and he's carrying out the instruction. No matter how small this looks, he's carrying out an instruction. Most High can be testing Gideon at this point through this Malak to make sure that he carries it out. And we see that that's what he's doing. This small instruction. 21. The Malak, messenger of Adonai, stretched out the edge of the staff that was in the hand and touched the meat and the matzos. The flame went up from the rock and consumed the meat and matzos. Then the messenger of Adonai left from before his eyes. Right? Gideon realized that it had been a messenger of Adonai. That was his sign. He asked for a sign. He received a sign. Right? And he says, alas, Adonai, Elohim, inasmuch as I have seen a messenger of the Most High face to face. At this point, we see verse 23 says, peace to you, do not be afraid. You will not die. Why is he saying that? Because we know that we cannot see the Most High. You see the Most High, you die. Right? But he's telling him not to be afraid. There's other schools of thoughts that speak on how the Malak may look. And you see this specific messenger or angel, you're going to be afraid. Right? That's another school of thought at this point. So every time that we saw, a lot of times we'll see a messenger coming, and that'll be the first thing that the Most High or the messenger is saying to this individual. All right, let's stop there. Let's stop there. Let's go to Judges chapter 7. Judges chapter 7. Verse 1. Yerubbaal, or Yerubbaal, I should say, who is Gideon, arose early with all the people who were with him, and they encamped near in Harad. The camp of Midian was to his north from the hill of Moreh in the valley. Adonai said to Gideon, the people that are with you are too numerous for me to deliver Midian into their hand, lest Yisrael aggrandize itself over me, saying, my own strength has saved me. This is a lesson in this. Most of the things that we do, or a lot of individuals do, are done and credit is not given to the Most High. Right? And he's saying at this point that we want to, or I want to, bring that number down. Because that number, two things. If that number is great, the Most High won't get the credit from those outside. They're going to look at it like, okay, we got defeated by a nice number of people. And this, we could see this being the case. But if a number is decreased, it's going to look more like a miracle. You're going to be able to see the wonders and the power of the Most High. Right? The people were too numerous for me to deliver Midian into their hand, lest Yisrael aggrandize itself over me, saying, my own strength has saved me. Verse 3, so now call out the ears of the people, saying, whoever fears and tremble, let him turn back and depart at dawn from Mount Gilead, right? And this will be the case. We saw this in many cases, dealing with when they came out of Mizraim. Some people wanted to go back to Egypt. We see this in even the early 19 or the late 1900s with, when people went from the United States to Demona, right? Or Liberia first. A lot of them came back to the U.S. They couldn't take, doing something that was foreign to them, right? So I'm going to give you the opportunity, if you're scared to make this trip, to make this what I'm going to put in front of you, leave now. It's a lot of us that's not equipped. A lot of us speak and claim that we're going to do this, that we're willing to do this, but we won't do it. We speak it. We talk it. All right. 3. So now call out in the ears of the people, saying, whoever fears and trembles, let him turn back and depart at dawn from Mount Gilead. 22,000 of the people withdrew, and 10,000 remained. That will happen today. That would happen today. Because a lot of us aren't as sincere as we come off to other people. And a lot of us aren't as sincere as we believe ourselves to be. A lot of us are moving like the individuals we see here. And as I always say, it's a remnant of a remnant. And that's what we're about to see in this case here. All right. Then Adonai said to Gideon, the people are still too numerous. Bring them down to the water and shall purge, and I shall purge them for you here. And it shall be that whosoever I say to you, this one shall go with you, he shall go with you. And whoever I say to you, this one shall not go with you, he shall not go. Verse 5. He brought the people down to the water, and Adonai said to Gideon, everyone who laps from the water with his tongue as a dog laps, stand him apart. And everyone who kneels on his knees to drink. Verse 6, it happened that the number of those who lapped with their hands to their mouth were 300 men. Let's stop there. Earlier, we talked about prostrating ourselves. We read where it said that they was prostrating themselves. At this point, we're seeing that the Most High is going to pick those that was lapping the water, right? Lapping the water. They're not bent over or prostrating. They're not at any opportunity that is benefiting them, right? Going down on their knees, prostrating, right? Think about it. We are seeing our people that a lot of times when these outsourced from us, those people outside of us presented something that seems a little better, we went there. That's a form of bowing down. That's a form of idolatry, right? So this word being used here, prostrating and using this drinking of the water is kind of alluding to the fact that these same individuals will run away quickly. But the ones who are lapping that water is more aware. They're probably looking around, right? So I believe that at this point, he picked them because they were just lapping, they were aware, and they weren't prostrating themselves, okay? Through the 300 men who lapped shall I save you, verse 7, and I shall deliver Midian into your hand, and let all the other people leave, each to his place. Verse 8, and they took the provisions of the people in their hands, as well as their shofars. And as for all the men who is of Israel, he sent them each to his home, and kept the 300 men, the camp of Midian, and below him in the valley. All right. It happened that night that Adonai said to him, verse 9, arise and descend into the camp, for I have delivered it into your hand. right? So these individuals, he only used 300 people. And then he declared at this moment, they will be delivered simply through Gideon and the 300 people that was picked. All right. But if you are afraid to descend, go down to the camp, you and Parah, your attendant. Listen to what they will speak. Then your heads will be strengthened, and you will descend into the camp. So he descended with Parah, his attendant, to the edge of the armed troops in the camp. Midian, Amalek, and all the people of East were encamping in the valley, as numerous as locusts swarm, and their camels were countless, as numerous as the sand at the seashore. So he's letting him know, if you are afraid, go ahead, do this. This will reassure you that you're going to be okay, right? But how much stronger do you think he would have been looked at if he would have just believed them right then and there? Right? I can't lace the shoes of Gideon right now, more than likely, right? But we can learn from what it is that's happening. We see that the Most High is still using him, even though he needed to go down there just to see. But I encourage us to get to the point where we don't need that, right? Verse 13, Gideon arrived, and behold, a man was relating a dream to his fellow and said, behold, I dreamt the dream. Behold, I roasted barley, a barley bread was rolling in the Midianite camp. It came to the tent and struck it, and it fell. It turned it upside down, and the tent fell. Verse 14, his fellow answered and said, this is none other than the sword of Gideon, son of Joash, the man of Yisrael. Elohim has delivered Midian and the entire camp into his hand. All right. So we see through obedience, we see through consistency, we see through being intentional, that this is the outcome. That this is the very outcome. Right? He showed through the word of the Most High that he was delivered. And the same could be with us we're going through the Tanakh, studying it, applying it, right? Speaking it throughout the day with your family, right? Practicing, bringing out scenarios like this, because anything can happen. And in order to make sure sometimes people have the heart to do it, you can build someone's heart or mind into what you're trying to accomplish. You come together, you all can build and strengthen that individual to get stronger in the area that they're not. So we can learn from this. We can learn and see what strengthened them. We can learn and see why they failed. And I believe that's why this is here today for us, to come back to the Most High. Let's go to Judges chapter 8. Judges chapter 8. We're going to jump down to verse 22. We're going to jump down to verse 22, chapter 8. So at this point, Gideon is being successful with the people, leading them properly due to the encouragement of the Most High, right? His spirit, his heart is starting to become a little stronger. And let's see what he says, because the people are starting to see this. The people are seeing this. And it says, the men of Yisrael said to Gideon, rule over us. Rule over us. You, your son, and your grandson, for you have saved us from the hand of Midian. You have saved us from the hand of Midian. Who remembers when he took that number down to 300? He said that they're going to start saying that it was done because of me or because of them, right? In here, verse 22, they're saying it was done because of Gideon. But what does Gideon say in verse 23? But Gideon said to them, I shall not rule over you, nor shall my son rule over you. Adonai, the Most High, shall rule over you. Right? The Most High shall rule over you, pointing them right back. Now, I do want to say that this word is mashal, right? Because we're going to read later in another chapter with this word rule being used in certain versions. I don't know what versions you all have, right? But there is a difference being said right now. This type of rule that he's talking about, they wanted him to do that type of rule. They wanted him to be the king over them. That's what they wanted. But he said the Most High is that. All right. Let's go down to 28. Chapter 8, verse 28 says, thus Midian was subdued before the children of Yisrael, and they did not continue to raise their head. And the land was tranquil for 40 years in the days of Gideon. That's not new right now. We've been seeing it up until this point. It's a pattern. Those that are sent, it should be peace. Those that are sent by the Most High, it should be peace, right? The people should be peaceful at that moment. Are we in that state right now? Or are we in a state that the Most High is testing us? I believe we're in a state that the Most High is testing us, but I also believe that this can be a state of peace if we come together as we've been seeing. Every time they came together as one man, it was a form of peace, right? Peace happened, and it happened for years, but they had to move a certain type of way, right? Yerubbaal, son of Yaash, went and settled in his home. Gideon had 70 sons emerging from his loins, for he had many wives. His concubine, who was in Shechem, also bore him a son, and he called his name Abimelech. Gideon, verse 32, son of Yaash, died at a good old age, and he was buried by the grave of Yaash, his father, in Ophrah of the Abiezrites. Verse 33, it happened when Gideon died that the children of Yisrael once again went astray after the Baalim, and they set Baal Berith as mighty one for themselves. The children of Yisrael did not remember Adonai, the Elohim, who rescued them from the hand of all their surrounding enemies. Also, they did not perform kindness with the household of Yerubbaal. Gideon commensurate with all the goodness that he had done with Yisrael. So not only did they forget, and not only did they go back, but they treated the household of Gideon, they treated them wrong, right? We can learn from this. We have leaders today. Things should be put in place to where when the leaders leave, not only does the leader's family be taken care of from the steps that was made by these individuals, by these leaders, to make sure they would be taken care of, but it should be something in place to continue the legacy of which the Most High has given the leadership for Yisrael to thrive. We cannot forget about the people that are going to be after us. And that's what we're seeing as we're reading, and that's what we're seeing today. Now, there is a remnant, so I'm sure that things are continuing and being passed down, but my concern is for Israel as a whole. And the way that we could get there, and hopefully we can, is by coming together. All right? Couple more spots, you all. A few more spots. Hold your finger on Judges. I'm going to take us to Judges 17. I mean, hold your finger where you at, but we're going to go to Judges 17 really quickly. Let me see if there's anything in the chat. Is there any questions, anybody? Any questions?
Yeah, can I ask a question, Rush? What did you,
Come on.
could you elaborate a little bit about what you meant where the family of the leadership should be provided for? In what way? Are you talking financially, mentally? What type of way are you talking about establishing that?
Two parts to that. I think that you should be provided for, of course. Am I on mute? Oh, we should be provided, or they should be provided for due to or from the leadership being intentional on doing the things needed. For example, what you brought out with the life insurance, right? Making sure that they can be taken care of from that instance, not having to, and this is for people that don't have communities, by the way, because here on Goshen, I know that we're going to have a place that we can bury ours, right? But I know that's still going to cost finances. But some people today, they'll be left with things pertaining to funerals and things of that nature. They'll be left with debt, things of that nature. So on that first part, I think the leadership should have that stuff set in place. Also for their family, also for their children, to carry out the teachings. And in order to carry out the teachings, they need to be taught in a sense, for example, how Eli was, or Shemuel was when he was with Eli. He was being trained up properly. Now, the second part of that, I believe that the community should have that oneness as we've been seeing them coming together to where now the name of that leader that has passed, right, is going to continue. It's not going to be pushed to the side due to the people in the community. So it has to be some type of, as Ezra or Nehemiah talks about, us being one man. We got to be family. So that's my answer. Hopefully I answered it for you.
All
right. Anyone else before we go to Judges or Shoftim 17 and 20? I believe I have 26. Yes, no, 17 and 6. All right. So Judges chapter 17, verse 6. And it says, in those days, there was no king in Yisrael. A man would do whatever seemed proper in his eyes. It is taught today, and I have a different school of thought. It's not to say that what's taught today is wrong, but it is taught today that there was no king present here. We've been seeing up until this point that there was a king present. And that king that was present was the Most High. The Most High was always supposed to be our king. I'm not going against what the scripture says. The scripture says what it says, but I think the scripture is trying to show us something. We have seen up until this point that the Most High came each time that they came together, prayed, cried. He has sent leaders that he did not allow anything to happen for 40 years. He was their king, right? But the part when it says, and the man would do whatever seemed proper in his eyes. They did whatever seemed proper in their eyes because they didn't believe that the Most High was their king. They wanted a physical king, right? But they was so blind, and this is not me, beating up on our forefathers and foremothers, those that was, not considered righteous. I'm not beating up on them, but we're learning from them. We got to be aware of what's happening. And we got to be aware that the Most High is still our king, right? So Judges 17 and 6 is saying Judges 17 and 6 is saying, in those days there was no king in Yisrael. But I'm saying, from my school of thought, that there has always been a king for Yisrael. It was up to us to choose, but let's keep going. We're going to go down to verse 21. Oh, wrong chapter. To 21 and 25. Give me 1 second. All right, yes. Chapter 21 and 25. All right. Same thing as 17 and 6. And it's bringing out because we sent in Judges at this time. In those days, there was no king in Yisrael. A man would do whatever seemed right. Whatever seemed right. And I want to add in there that a lot of times we are doing things that we seem right. Now, at this point, it's not saying that, might beat me up when I say this, but it's not saying that everyone was wicked at this point. And I'm not sure, I heard this portion that I'm about to bring out. I don't know if it was Prince that brought this out, or if I'm not sure who said this, but if it was you, Prince, I'm giving credit to you. I'm not sure who said it, but it said that everyone did what was right in their eyes, basically. And it's told today that though these individuals is wicked. But sometimes we have differences of opinions, even here, you know, and it's righteous individuals today, and it's differences of opinion. So why is it saying that they're doing everything right in their eyes? We're not one right now. As a people collectively, we're not one. We have individuals that's trying their best to be righteous and being righteous and moving righteously, but we still got differences of thoughts of how to move in different subjects, right? So we're technically doing what is right in our eyes at this point, in that particular way. Now, there are wicked individuals that's doing it that way and purposely not trying to live up to what the Most High has set forth in things of that nature. But there are individuals that might have differences that are righteous. So I want to put that school of thought out there. I'm not sure if that was Prince that brought it out, but I did hear that before. And I just add a little bit of my little bit of what I wanted to put on there as well. Okay. Let's go to, we got two or three more spots, you all. 2 or 3 more spots. Let's go back to Judges chapter 6. Let's go back to Judges chapter 6. And we're going to start at verse 27. Actually, 28. All right. And it says, the people of the city arose early in the morning, and behold, the altar of the Baal had been broken, and the Asherah tree that was near it had been cut down, and the second bull had been offered up on the newly built altar. Each man said to his fellow, who did this thing? They searched and sought, and they said, Gideon, son of Yaash, did this thing. Right? So he did what was told to him. We read a little bit of it, but I didn't continue with it on purpose. And it says, the men of the city then said to Yaash, bring out your son, and he shall die, because he has broken the altar of the Baal, and because he has cut down the Asherah tree that was near it. Right? Verse 31. And it says, Yaash said to all who were standing near him, will you take up the Baal's grievance? Will you save him? Whoever aggrieved him should die by morning. If Baal is a mighty one, it will take up his grievance against him for breaking its altar. On that day, Yaash named him Yerubbaal, saying, let the Baal take up the grievance against him for breaking its altar. Let's keep going. All of Midian, Amalek, and the people of the east gathered together. They crossed the Jordan and encamped in the valley of Jezreel. The spirit of Adonai clothed Gideon. He blew the shofar, and the family of Abizar was mustered after him. All right. So the one part I want to point out the most is the spirit of Adonai clothed Gideon. Is this a spirit that the Most High put on Gideon? Not arguing that. It can be the case. Or could this be the spirit, the confidence, right? The intention to want to do and continue to do that the Most High have put forth, right? The dedication. All of these things is considered or has attributes of being a certain spirit or characteristic that you're taking on at this point, right? And this can all be due to consistency, confidence, being intentional, being dedicated, and understanding that there is a king. Everyone that has deal with the Most High has said in the book of Shoftim, and the Most High has gained them peace, right? Understood that there was a king. Understood that the Most High is that king, right? The last place that I want to take us. The last place that I want to take us is 1 Samuel chapter 8. First Samuel chapter 8. Y'all can put ones in the chat if you would, if you're there, or thumbs up, whichever one you prefer. All right. All right, so verse 1, and it says, when Shemuel became old, he appointed his son judges over Israel. But Yisrael, some translations actually says rulers, right? But that word there, of course, is Shoftim. So it's not Masha'al, I believe is the word I have said. Let me confirm that. I don't want to give you the wrong word. Yeah, Mashal. All right. So when Shemuel became old, he appointed his sons judges over Yisrael. The name of his firstborn son was Yoel, and the name of his second was Abiah. They were judges in Beersheba, but his sons did not follow his ways. They were swayed by profit. They took bribes and they perverted justice. So last week I spoke on or showed examples as to when these individuals was known from the womb, a lot of times it was due to the parents, Horim, but it was due to the Most High sending forth the Malak to have them carry out an instruction to fulfill or guarantee that this child was going to be that. Our children is not always going to do what it is we're teaching them, but it's our job to teach them anyway. We don't want to be like Eli, right? In regards to place, we got to make sure that we put this in place. That's the only way they're gonna understand what this king put in place, right? Which is our king. But we see that his sons was going for profit. And I spoke on last week, I said, I think it was last week, that those that are from the womb, right? That the Most I know from the womb, it's a benefit for the people. It's not to profit themselves. They're not for themselves. They're doing things that's beneficial for the people, right? So these two individuals or his sons are not doing things that's benefiting for the people as a whole. Not even focus on trying to do it, but they wanting to profit only for themselves. They actually took bribes. They perverted justice, right? These are all things the Most High don't want us to do. But let's keep reading. All the elders of Yisrael then gathered together and came to Shemuel, to Ramah. They said to him, behold, you are old, and your sons did not follow your ways. So now appoint for us a king to judge us like all the nations. So we're still at that point right here wanting to be like everyone else. We wanted to be like everyone else. The Most High has been showing them, I am your king. But he wants us to recognize that he is our king. How can I prove it? The verse continues to say, it was wrong in Shemuel's eyes, verse 6, that they said that, right? Give us a king to judge us. And Shemuel prayed to Adonai. Verse 7, Adonai said to Shemuel, listen to the voice of the people and all that they say to you, for it is not you whom they have rejected, but it is me whom they have rejected from reigning over them. And with that I yield. Gideon let us know and let them know that he will not allow the sons to rule over them, right? He will not rule over them. The Most High will rule over us, right? So there is no physical king in Yisrael, but it is a mighty king in the Most High. And with that I yield.
All right, fam. So,
Hallelujah.
y'all know how we do. Would anybody like to be first to explain what they've learned from the lesson today? How it may have affected them in their understanding and their approach toward the Creator?
I would like to say that our creator is really good. I don't know what he's doing, but Roche, that Judges 1 and 2 were my study this week. And because I'm kind of doing a study on covenants, right? And the first thing that I run across in scripture was Judges 1 and 2. And as I read that, I mean, as I read Judges 1 and 2, I'm hearing what you're saying and what the presentation that you made. I know that the Creator is leading us somewhere. We got to go back. As I said, that my studies on covenants and all of the results that are contained in that book of Judges as a result of us breaking his covenant, our forefather, and it will trickle down throughout our generations. And indeed, we have to go back to that covenant in order to establish our relationship with the Creator as he wanted to in the beginning, without that king, without that us wanting that physical being on earth to rule over us. So I really appreciate the study this week because it really goes hand in hand with what I am studying about covenants. So thank you for that.
And again, sis, that lets you know that this was meant to be. May the Most High be praised.
Hi.
Would anyone else like to speak on what they've gotten out of the message today, out of the lesson? Would anyone else like to speak? You know, I'm really surprised because there was so much information in the lesson. So much information. One of the parts I want to talk about is this, since nobody's speaking up. You know, I don't try to bogart or move anything around. I try to give everybody the opportunity to contribute. But while he was moving around, I tried to hold this one spot. And it's Judges 7:3. It says now here in Judges says, now therefore go to proclaim in the ears of the people, saying, whosoever is fearful and afraid, let him return and depart early from Mount Gilead. And there returned of the people 22,000. And Rosh began to speak on that a little bit, and how the Most High don't want you if you're not willing to come. That's right. And he also talked a little bit about how many people is going to be needed to get the works of the Most High done, so that the glory goes to the Most High and not the people, because it's a whole large amount. But I want to talk about how many of us actually turned away. It was more people that turned away than those who remained. Only 10,000 remained. 22,000, was it 22? 22,000 left. They went, they ran, they gone. Why did they leave? Because they was fearful. And I can imagine that at that time, getting ready to go to war, fear would pump in your heart because you don't know if you're going to survive it or not. You don't know if you're going to make it through. But the Most High gave the opportunity for cowards to do exactly that, be cowards. Accept their defeat, because first, a battle and a war, when you go to war, it's up here first. Before it is physical, it has to be up here. And that's why the Most High had to let them go, because fear is contagious. You'll sit in the midst of a congregation like what we're doing right now, and we're moving forward, and then somebody will jump up and talk about why this shouldn't be and why it can't go this way. And they begin to plant seeds of fear in the minds of the family. All right, he got to be quiet, else I'm going to put him out my room. And if that's allowed, family, then that fear that's contagious will spread through the minds of the rest of the people. And everything that you fought for will be destroyed. Like, for example, when I teach about, and I believe Rosh touched on this last week, I believe it was, when the elders come in the room, everybody's supposed to stand up and greet the elders. If we don't enforce that, and if it doesn't become a normal habit for us, that rebellion of doing so will become prominent in the people, and that custom or that portion of law will no longer be enforced. Over a period of time, it will be removed from our practice, and the elders won't get their proper honor and respect that the laws say they should have. Same thing with the fear. Everybody knows we should stand up and fight for our own survival. But a lot of people that's playing with this king, they won't do that. And that fear fits in. Yeah, you did say that. You did say that. I understand. I understand. We understood. I think we all understood. May the Most High be praised. But yes, family, and that's important. That fear is contagious, extremely contagious, and so is disrespect. Disrespect is also contagious. And if disrespect is not checked, just like if fear is not checked, it can cause a lot of harm to anything that you're trying to establish. So that's the portion that I wanted to talk on, Rosh. I think you did a great job.
Yes, it did.
Can I say something too? Again,
Yes,
what you were saying about not fair itself. Well, fair itself, but that is that was one of the commandments or in the Torah. I'm not sure in Deuteronomy, I believe, for war. The requirements is that there be no distractions when these men are going to war. So if they have if they're married recently, or they have a garden to attend, or if they have something else, they should not go to war. um so that is one of the crimes. They have to be really focused on it. So I think the creator was reiterating the laws that he set down before this new generation, Gideon's new generation. He was kind of confirming what he had put in place before in the time of Moses and Joshua. Um, you know, also. So
that would be true. He was reiterating exactly. The Most High doesn't
pardon?
have any fear in our heart at all.
No, absolutely not.
And in our ancient days, not like today's time, you ain't got a lot of ancient spirits walking the earth. But in those days that we're reading about, the biblical times, if a man was fearful, he was considered to be a boy and not a man. It was an honor for a man, a true soldier, to die at battle. It was an honor for him. When you're fearful, that honor is taken away because you're not a true man and a true soldier. It's not that anybody wanted to die in warfare, but if they had to die, let them die defending their nation, defending their people, fighting on the behalf of the Most High. Then they will be willing to sacrifice their lives for that. Well, in this life that we're living today, this is the type of attitude we have to have for the people of the Most High. A lot of you are the people of the Most High, but those people who stand up in position of leadership are supposed to have that mentality, that they're willing to die, put their lives at stake for the people of the Almighty. And that's why you got to be careful of the people that you put in position as leadership over you, because you owe them a lot of respect, more than what you think of. Let's examine that for a minute. If you was getting out of your car as a lady or as a young man, you was getting out of your car and two guys walked over to you and stuck guns up to your head and had your wife on the ground and began to the process to disrespect you by disrespecting your wife, and there was nothing you can do. And another man came over that you did not know, and he defeated your enemies. You were not capable of doing it at the time, but he spared your life her dignity. He spared your wife her dignity. And he spared you the respect of having to see your wife disrespected in that manner, right? Absolute in your presence. He fought that battle for you and he defeated your enemies. I would like for you all just to tell me, what would you owe that man after that? Somebody tell me. Couple people. I like to hear at least 3 to 4 people. How would you repay that man? He's done. Is that you, Brother Ramir?
Yeah, with some shekels and take him to my house and feed him. Make sure he eats well and give him a gift as departing.
Okay. Very good. Good one. Anyone else?
For the rest of your life, you have to make sure he's good.
That's deep.
Good.
That's deep. All right, one more.
There's nothing that I have after that in my possession that that person is not worthy of, as far as possessions.
Sis, brother, what I'm hearing, these things are honorable things. But that man just saved your life. He preserved your life.
Right. It would be a life for a life.
That's right, a life for a life. And a lot of us don't understand what honor and integrity is all about. A lot of us don't. In today's, because of the way the society has raised us today, we take it lightly. We think it's nothing. We'll say, thank you, sir. Shake his hand, give him a pat on the back. But that man risked his life for you, a complete stranger. That's what I think Rosh's lesson is talking about. Sure, he did mention about the simple fact that the Creator is our king, but he also brought in what's due to leadership. A true leader risks his life for the people. Rosh brought that out in his lesson, and that's what he's talking about. True leadership, not just haphazardly leadership, but real, true leadership. It's a lot to it than what the average person thinks. Just like being a complete stranger and seeing a woman being molested, taken advantage of, and a man held at gunpoint to his head, and you intervene, you're actually putting your life at risk. That's what you're actually doing. So how do you repay somebody for that? Life for life. In a lot of cases, we have no idea of what that truly means. And that doesn't mean that you have to take care of that man for the rest of his life. You have to provide for him the rest of his life. But what it should mean is that that man's life safety is important to you now. And now you feel the need to be responsible for his life, health, and safety. You might pray to the Most High to prolong his days. You would take on the obligation of making sure he was right. And if he ever needed, you would be there for him. I remember one story, and these are the things that touch me most in the scriptures, because this is all in me, man. This is how I feel. David loved Jonathan so much that when he became king, Jonathan's last remaining son, King David, put a seat at his table where he can always eat. Y'all understand what that means? That's honor. That's loyalty. That's commitment. Even after Jonathan's dead, he's going to make sure that that boy, that young man, is taken care of and provided for. No matter what he had to do, he made sure it was done. These are the types of things, this is the type of understanding that has fled from Israel today. These type of things have fled from the mind of the Hebrews today because we're so busy worried about us, me, mine. And as long as I got something to eat, I'm not worried about the rest of them. But that's not how this is supposed to be established. It's true. The Most High is our only king. Everything else is just something temporarily ruling over us. But it's not our king. There isn't but one true king, and that's the Most High. Just the Most High. Rosh, is there something you want to say?
I appreciate allowing me to teach today, and hopefully it's some things that, even though it's just not speaking, hopefully it was something that was said that helped.
Great it was. Did a great job. Great job. Anyone else like to speak? Would anyone else like to share their opinion on the matter? Of what they learned today, or what they got out of the lesson?
I have a question.
Yes.
My question is, if you do not have a wife, are you still favored by the power of our forefathers?
Okay. Well, let's see what the family has to say about that. Is there anybody who does not understand the question?
Hey, I don't know. I understand it, or if I heard it properly. All I heard was if you do not have a wife.
Bro, Ramir,
Yes.
could you repeat the question? The sister didn't understand it.
I was asking if you do not have a wife, are you still favored by the Most High?
Would you like to elaborate a little bit, or you want to just leave it at that?
Uh, I put it in a sense for I forget which scripture it was, but it's basically was saying that the ones who has a wife is favored by the Most High. And
Stop! Don't do that.
recently I've just been I'm not gonna say on a search, but just being myself and getting closer with the Most High, trying to see if I'm favored by Him by having a wife in that sense.
Would anyone like to answer? It's a very good question.
I would say it depends on why that person doesn't have a wife in the first place. Um, did she pass? I mean, you don't have to answer, but did she pass away? It's like saying if a woman doesn't have a husband, is she favored also by the Most High? Um, okay. You can ask the question, did she pass? Uh, or did you just kick her out of your life? Or did she just walk away from you? There's so many questions can be asked. And if you know from within your heart that you did your best, your very best, and you did not just throw her aside or throw her away, then of course you are favored by the Most High. That's what I would say.
All right, very good. Thank you. May the Most High be praised. Anyone else?
Shalom. I'm not familiar with the verse that he's referring to too much, but from what I hear, it just sounds like the Creator is satisfied, or the Creator pretty much blesses unions. That's what I'm hearing. Like the Creator is pleased when man and wife come together. Like I said, I'm not sure about the verse. I'm not sure how what the verse actually references, but that's what's happening to me. So it's not like we would be unfavored for not having a wife. It's just that it says that the Creator favors the man that are married because he likes a union.
Your phone is really distorted, Case.
Can you hear me any better?
Oh, much better. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. What I said was, to me, it just sounds like the Creator blesses unions and is happy with unions, not necessarily about a man that is married being more favored or anything. It's just about the Creator favors unions. That's what I hear. Like I said, I'm not familiar with the verse so much, and it's not like a man that is not married will be unfavored. It's just that it seems like the Creator is just speaking on unions and that how much he finds favors and man and wife come together.
Very good. Very good. Now, your answer just reminded me of Rosh's lesson. How the individuals would pray and it wouldn't be as effective as when the union of people prayed together to the Almighty and he responded. So that reminded me of Rosh's lesson when you said the Creator favors union. So that's a very good answer. May the Most High be praised. Rosh, you got your hand up?
Okay. I think one of the main reasons that verse is there, if you all are talking about the favorable verse, is because the only way that a community and a nation could be brought forth is through man and woman. So if you are a man, think about it. If I'm not mistaken, I brought up Eli a lot. No, Shemuel a lot. And he was before he got called the Most High, I don't believe he had a wife. And he was being favored by the Most High once he got called and the people. But and I could be wrong, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but I think what the favoring part that can be attached to it is the fact that you're being fruitful and you're multiplying, which can help build a nation, which can help also bring more glory to the Most High if you have righteous individuals that's, you know, doing righteous things due to it, you know, or after it, I should say, having children. So you need a wife to have children. You need a wife to have a community, a nation. And without that, you know, so that's all I got.
Thank Total Rabab, may the Most High be praised. Anyone else?
Another thing that he talked about was training up our children. We do have a responsibility, all parents, to train their children in the right way, in a way that is pleasing to the Most High.
This is true. And he also mentioned that you can do your best, don't mean that they're necessarily going to do that right thing. He also mentioned that too. So you're right, sis. You're right, absolutely. Train them up. May the Most High be praised.
And I also want to add to that, when it comes to a warlike spirit or war, fightings, there's a lot of people really truly don't know how to fight. And and some people just have that spirit. They were like born with that spirit, or born in that bloodline, I should say. And it's very important, especially in these days, that you can stand up and defend yourself or defend your family, or to just be fearless, because fear, we know, number one, it cripples. And fear is the number one method that is used today amongst nations. So we have to really be alert and to make sure that we're not walking in fear, no matter what they do. Because we have to be able to hear them, see them, and still look them in the face and know that we will not be moved.
This is true.
I think I said enough.
Well, you're saying all intelligent things that are needed and necessary. Total Rabbi, may the Most High be praised. Roche?
I'm glad she brought it out, and you brought that part out too about the you know, you could also teach them and they could go a different way. Now I might be shooting myself in the foot when I say this, but I think too, for the most part, because I know that's what we read was a moment within the scripture. But I would say the training up part, and this is why I be saying sometimes too, that it's very important in the community. Like a lot of us can be teaching our children the right way, but we still sending them to other schools with other children that's atheists and don't have the moral capacity that we have, or we been given through the scripture to the Most High. So you could train them up all you want, but if the community is not on one accord, like what we saw with the scripture, they came as one accord. You go to Nehemiah, or Ezra, they go in as one man. If you got a lawyer, say if it's a lawyer amongst us, we got the bar, and you learn from a book. I'm watching a TV show called Suits, and he can memorize stuff like crazy, but you learn from the books and all that. But you are in a community with firefighters, and you never experience doing no mock trial or nothing like that. You're not going to thrive as a lawyer. You got to be in a community of lawyers. You know, you're being trained up on how to move. You're being trained up on when that thing when those court cases come about, because you've been around nothing but lawyers. You know, so us training up the child, when it says in the scripture, in my opinion, I think it's one thing to do it when we're not in the community, and I still take my head off to people that does it, and we have to still do it if you're not a part of one. But I think you're more successful if you're around a lot of, I ain't gonna say like thousands, just, you know, a nice group of people that are all on one accord, and you could raise your children up together with the same type of morals and standards. And now they fight a better chance when they go into the world, because they're going to come back to a community that everybody has the same mindset. So going outside in the world, it's not going to move them as quickly. But a lot of times we're moved quickly because we're not in the community. And I'm not trying to say like community is the end all be all, but I am saying it at the same time. If we are Yisrael. And with that, I yield.
You're absolutely right. The community is the end all be all. Yeah. This individuality is not getting it. Community is our strength. And just like you taught in the lesson today, we had to come together for any real positive thing to happen. So may the Most High be praised. You're absolutely correct. Does anyone else have anything that they want to mention? If not, I'm going to jump on to the brother's question. Anything else you want to mention about the class today, or would you like to address the question? All right. So nobody want to speak? I'll speak. Well, I'm a little bit familiar with the brother's situation, real life situation. I'm a little bit more familiar with it. But I'm not going to deal with that part of it. I'm not even going to come from that angle. That had its own methods, and in my opinion, the brother is single because he needed to be. He's doing what he needs to do. And I fully understand that, and I support him in that. But here's the thing. The Most High, who is the supreme intelligence of the universe, he knows what we need. So if he causes something to happen that's out of your control, and you got to make a righteous decision at that time, and you do it, and that in making that righteous decision, it causes you to lose money, or it causes you to be single. All of that is a test for you to see if you really love the Most High or not. Almost like that test where the Most High said to the people, whoever fearful, y'all can leave. Just to see who gonna go. And a lot of time, the Most High takes us to these challenges to see how we're gonna stand up to the challenge. A lot of people fear is being alone. A lot of people's fear is not having money and not having wealth. And this man can have $10,000 today, and tomorrow he down $1,000. He's still up in the 1% of people, but he's afraid because he doesn't know what's going to happen if he loses that money. Just like a lot of males don't know what's going to happen if they lose that woman. Therefore, they stay in bad relationships, be disrespected, and totally go against what the Most High has established because they fear being alone. A lot of times the Most High tests you for that reason, because he wants you to be better. He wants you to be stronger. He wants you to be great. And you also got to remember this. A lot of times the Most High puts you in a position of being alone or in a position of being broke, just so that you will know what to do with that thing once you get it. It's a time for you to reflect. It's a time for you to focus. And this is what I always say. If a male cannot survive without a woman, then a woman will do him no good. And if a man cannot survive without money, then money will do him no good. What do I mean by that is this. What's in you is only going to come out further once you get yourself these things. So like if I'm a woman beater, but I ain't got no woman, but I still like beating on them. I talk mean to them. I'm nasty to them. But I ain't got no woman. The woman beating attitude is inside me, but I ain't got no woman. What do you think I'm going to do when I get a woman? I'm not going to show her how a man is supposed to be. I'm going to show her how a woman beater man is supposed to be. So oftentimes there's things inside of you that the Most High needs you to alleviate out of your life before he bring that sacred treasure and that special jewel in your company. What? A man ain't got no money. How you gonna live without any money? The Most High oftentimes gives you what you need to survive. Most oftentimes. He gives you what you need to survive and doesn't always give you what you want. So therefore, you consider yourself to be broke or not have no money. A lot of times you don't have any money because of the way you treat money when you get money. A lot of people don't understand that. Money is supposed to be used as your slave to make more money for you. Too many of us take the wealth or the money that we have, and what do? We buy these big cars that we don't need. We buy these fancy clothes that we don't need. You know what I mean? You're supposed to take every dollar you get is a slave of yours. And you're supposed to put it to work to make more and create more slaves to serve you. That's what you're supposed to do with your money. But we want to go get the best of foods, the luxurious foods that taste real good, that's poisonous to our bodies. So a lot of times the Most High doesn't give us wealth, financial wealth, because we don't do the right things with it. When's the last time you took your last $1,000 and gave it to the Most High? When the last time that happened? When the last time you took your last $1,000 and invested in it so that when your investments pay off, you could do something for the Most High or the Most High's people? When the last time you did something like that? Or you can make your life a little bit easier so you can free up some time to do things for the Creator or the Creator's people. When the last time you even thought like that? No, what we do is we get a little bit of wealth and we'll be in leadership positions and we'll give 10% to the people of our time, and the rest of the time and efforts that we give is to us so we can look good, drive the most expensive cars, live in a big house on the hill, have a little white picket fence, and meanwhile your brothers and sisters right next to you are hungry, don't have clothes to put on. You know, their little children is barefoot. And you can take their father and raise him up in his knowledge and teach him how to feed for his family. Because more than likely, every dime he gets, he's wasting it just like you. What am I saying? Ultimately, I'm saying this. And listen, I want y'all to understand what I'm saying. If you don't have the abundance of wealth, then you should cherish the little bit you have, which means spend it wisely. If you don't have the abundance of women, then you should cherish the little bit you have, which means spend it wisely. If you don't have either one at that particular time, what should you do? Look inside yourself and perfect yourself to the best that you're able to perfect yourself. Here we go. Small example. If you eating 3 meals a day, you're spoiled. If you eat 3 meals a day, the society in which you live today has spoiled you. You got it all wrong. Learn to live off of 1 meal a day for a good 6 months to a year. Learn to live off of 1 meal a day for 6 months to a year. You'll be improving yourself. You'll be bettering yourself. And as a male, you should know how to cook. You should know how to clean. You should know how to wipe your own self. You should know how to bathe yourself and take care of yourself and provide for yourself. I got a buddy. He was complaining to me about not having a wife. One wife he did have didn't want to do anything with him. She didn't want to be bothered with him. She didn't want to have intercourse with him. She didn't like him, basically. But he was a pretty good provider, so she kept him around. He got another girl. Situation didn't work out too good. He had her and his wife, but his wife was already distant, so he got another girl thinking that that would fix the problem that he's having with his other wife. He can get all the attention from the other girl. That didn't work out either. It lasted a good 6 months. It was over. It was done. Back to square zero. Me and a brother took a trip. We go to, I think we went to Ohio, Cincinnati, Ohio. We go to a trip in Ohio to a Unity Shabbat. So we shared the hotel room. And I had to sit down with my brother and tell him he's a bum. You're dirty. Your feet stink. You're dirty. You need to clean up after yourself. You don't even wash yourself correctly. He's a grown man. Why do I have to tell him this? Because if I don't tell him, he'll never keep a woman. Because women watch you, brothers. And if you're not tidy and neat and disciplined in your actions and your behavior, you will never have a woman. You'll have somebody come in and out of your life, but they're only there to get what they can get and keep it moving. We as males, that's the first level. But then we as men, we have to be disciplined in our every action, our every approach. I'm not saying you got to take a bath every day, but you got to keep up on your hygiene. You got to keep up on your teeth. You got to keep the dirt and the funk from between your toes. You don't, the hotel room that we shared, the brother had his clothes all on the floor, underwear all on the chair. Well, I don't need to see that man's underwear. That man's clothes don't need to be on the floor. If he did that to me in a hotel, how much more comfortable you think he would respond with his woman that he'd been with for some years? It was horrible. And a lot of males move in similar fashions with almost everything in their lives. Sisters, I ain't even talking about y'all. This ain't even for y'all right now. This is the men conversation. Y'all can hear it, and if you can help get something from it, help teach it, learn it, educate it. But I really want to talk about the men right now. I could talk about the sisters, but that ain't it right now. We're going to deal with these brothers and these males. A lot of us don't deserve a wife because we have not mastered ourselves yet. And once you master self, then you're ready for a wife. Once you master self, then you're ready for wealth. And a lot of people, men, males, I have to say men and males, because a lot of them have not mastered self. Therefore, anything they get in their possession, they don't value it, they don't cherish it, and they don't utilize it to its fullest potential. And we must learn to do that. If you are single, and if you don't have a wife, and if you don't have a whole lot of money, now is the time for you to be purifying yourself. Learning the bad habits you had. Look at all the relationships you had in the past, if there were any. Look at all the relationships you had in the past, and look how you did what you did based on what you were given to work with. Analyze the situation. Say she had a big mouth. How'd you treat her? She was disrespectful. How you deal with her? You tell her the day of the Shabbat, let's go. How she respond to you? And then how did you respond to what she said? Check yourself. Because a lot of times you are not ready for a wife. Your mind tell you because society raised you up thinking that once you get a certain age, you got to have intercourse, and thinking that you got to have intercourse in this way of life, you say, well, I need me a wife. You don't know how to have intercourse because most of us think that intercourse starts in the bed, and it doesn't start right there in the mind. It starts with her admiring the way that you move, the way that you think, how you conduct yourself. That's where the intercourse starts. Not in the bed, but this society will make us believe, this society will have us thinking that it starts in the bed. How good you move in the bed, how you make her feel in the bed. It ain't that. You got to stimulate her mind, even for her to be interested in coming closer to you on that level. But once you stimulate her mind, she can't go wrong, because if she knows what to look for, she done picked a winner. But the problem is most females today don't know what to look for. Therefore, they're stimulated with their eyes and not the mind. And even when they are stimulated with the mind, it's not the right things that they're focusing on. What I'm trying to say, family, is this. If you want to be a man always, at all times. Be your very best to be your best. Learn who you are as an individual, your shortcomings, the things that helps you to stand strong, and the weaknesses that you got inside yourself that makes you look bad. Once you learn that, then you learn how to provide for yourself. How do I take care of myself? Because a lot of males, they rush too soon to grab a woman, and they ain't even ready for themselves yet. They haven't mastered their own life or their own livelihood, and yet they go out and get 2, 3, 4 even wives. And the wives end up working somewhere while the males, and I say males specifically, while the males sit home and say, I'm studying Torah. I'm getting ready for the class. I gotta teach. But I'm gonna put you to work. And what it is, I've seen that. In most of those cases that I've seen, almost every one of them, the male is not qualified to go out into the world to earn a living for himself. But he's slick with the tongue, or he might look halfway decent. And then that'll get him, attract women to him. Because they don't know how to think. They don't know how to pick a man. He don't know what to present to a woman. So what happens? They end up together. It lasts 2, 3 months, 4 months, sometimes even a year. And then it's over, back to square one. And they move on to another chick, another chick, another chick. 5 years then pass, but they never improve themselves mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and financially. Therefore, the cycle just keeps repeating itself. But we, as males, should learn discipline within ourselves and master it, and then move on to that next place or that next level. The light went out. Oh. And be worried about, if I don't have a wife, then shit, am I ready? Just plug it in, please. Check, plug in the back, right there on the ground. If I don't have a wife, am I being cursed by the Creator? The answer is no. You're being blessed by the Creator. But you have to understand that it's a blessing. You have to know that it's a blessing. The Most High is giving you opportunity to improve you, to better you. Same thing for the women. If I don't have a husband, am I being cursed by the Creator? Yeah, you could be. And you could be because of the lifestyle that you lived in the past. Because a woman's way to the kingdom of the Most High is through a husband or some type of man in her life that's governing over her to help secure the way she conducts herself. And that's just a fact. Most of our women today have lived a life, have done a lot of things, and the same thing with the males. We've done things that has profited us nothing. And then we'll get 20, 30, 40 years old even. And we look back, we in a bad relationship. We're working on our 14th relationship with the 14th different man or woman. And we still can't understand what the problem is. I look good. What's the problem? I don't understand. I'm kind to people. What's the problem? I don't understand. You have not mastered yourself. And when the time comes that you master yourself, Satan gonna see it. The adversary is going to see it. Why? Because the adversary is the adversary to man, not the Creator. He ain't the enemy of the Creator like JC Christians teach you. He's the adversary to mankind. He's your tester. When he sees that you're on a discipline level, he's going to bring somebody in your life that doesn't even meet the qualities that you're looking for to see how bad you really want what you say you want. He'll bring a half-hearted nigga that look good, but he's a piece of trash. And the first thing you'll do is, more than likely, oh, I got me a man. Look, hey. And you start to compromise in areas of life that you should not be compromising in. Oh, he looked good. I like to be seen with a good-looking man. Well, I like to be touched by somebody that's husky and muscular. Well, the man for you might not be husky like you desire. He might not be 6 foot tall, 200 pounds. He might not be. He might be 140 pounds. He might be 5'9", 5'8", 5'7". He just may be. But if you don't get in tune with who you are as an individual, both men and women, you will never receive what the Most High has for you. So sometimes the Most High leaves you out of the equation of a man or a woman in your life, just so that he can purify and make you better for the man or the woman that he's going to bring to you in the near future when you're ready. Don't be rushing for a mate. Not to the point where you're willing to compromise. And any mate that you bring into your life, you vet them, you check them, you vet them, you make sure that they're worthy of being in your life. Because if not, if they're bad, they're going to bring you down. Because if you allow your emotions to get involved, You're going to see the dirt and the filth in this woman, and it's going to be hard to let her go. Or it's going to be hard to let him go because your emotions are involved. So all that stuff, you got to remember too, that's how they get your emotions involved. I love you. You love me? Oh, I love you. Leave the love out the equation because the love ain't got nothing to do with it. The principles, the purpose has everything to do with it. How do you supply a need in my life to get me closer to the Creator? Or while I'm walking toward the Most High, how do you implement that? Both male and woman should be asking that question. Or are you a hindrance to that? If you can't help to advance me, or at least go with me while I'm walking in that direction, why do I need you? Because you're just a distraction. Just like when you went to the store, to the market, you got that $10,000 check, and you've been broke 6 months. You got that $10,000 check, and the first thing you did was went to the mall. That's a distraction. Just like that woman, she's a distraction. That mall was a distraction, but it was really a test for you to see if you were worthy. If you would have took that $10,000 and took 10% of that and dedicated it to the service of the Most High and His people, took the other 10% of it and began to invest it to prepare for the future, took the other 10%, paid some bills. Notice I put pay bills last, pay some bills and get things out of the way, and your life is comfortable. Then you prepare for tomorrow and you're worthy of a bigger check. But if you take that big check from the door and just start wasting it, giving it away, things that profit you not, nothing that you don't need, you just desiring things, then you's a fool and you will always be broke. Take your money and use those dollars as slaves to create more slaves for you, for your future. That's what you do. You can walk around with no money in your pocket for weeks and weeks at a time with no money in your pocket. All your bills are paid. All your investments are up to date. Then what you got to worry about? So it's not about how much you got on hand, how much you got in your pocket, or how much you can show off to people, pull out big knots out of your pocket. It's what you own. And it's what you've done with the monies that you've had for whenever you had them. How did you invest them? How are you preparing for your future? What are you doing with it? Are you providing for your family? What are you doing? So anyway, so I hope that answers your question, bro. And I took it that way because having wealth and having a lady go hand in hand. Because if you ain't got that wealth, you shouldn't have that lady. And I don't care who you are or what you're doing. If you don't have the wealth, you should never take the lady. And I'm saying wealth. Let's get this straight. I don't mean you have to be rich. I don't mean that you have to have $1,000 a week or $1,000, even $1,000 a month. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that you have to be disciplined in yourself to first provide for yourself before you try to provide for you and someone else. That's the first thing we need to do. Once we get that under control, then we should go look for a wife. So, my brother, if situation is that a man doesn't have a wife, then he should be more focused on being a man before he tries to go out and become a husband. And once he's mastered being a man, then he can go out and get himself a wife, but then he'll know how to pick one. He don't have to make those compromises. You know, he don't have to sacrifice those things. He would already know how to go get one because he's learned it by disciplining himself. You know, a lot of people think that if I don't have a wife, I can't do anything. I can't be a man. You're not complete as a man until you have a wife. Now that part is true because a man's completeness comes with responsibility. That's a man's completeness. It comes with responsibility. If he has no responsibility, then how do you know he's a man? You're not complete. You have no family. You have no children. You have no Isha. What makes you think you're a man? Yeah, well, a man's completeness comes with the responsibility of family. Any other man that's in the position of manhood, I mean a man, which means he's providing for himself, he's handling his business, but he don't have no wife, usually what happens is he becomes a gigolo or a player or whoremonger, and he sleeps with multiple women. That man could never be righteous in the eyes of the Creator, if that's what he's doing. He's still a man, but he's not fulfilling the obligation and responsibility of a man. You follow me? So therefore, get yourself together completely as much as you can. And along that way, while you're being completed and perfected, the Most High will bring into your life a person that you need. And you'll be thankful because it will work out so much better. And even if it don't work the first time, then what you do is what I said earlier, you learn from the mistakes you made with the last relationship and you improve yourself and don't make those mistakes again. That's all. It's just that simple. Any questions or comments before we continue?
I got something to say.
You got it, bro.
A lot of those things that you were speaking on is literally the process that I'm going through right now, especially when being tested with a sister, thinking that things is all fine and dandy, and making that mistake. And I admit I failed on that test. And I noticed that I was emotionally attached, and now I've been in the process of detaching from that just because of noticing the things that she would say and do and whatnot, and it just wasn't aligning with me at all. So I cut that off completely. But it's just like, you know, I feel as though right now I'm literally in that like zone where I'm trying to do everything I can to, you know, be a man, even through the process of me not having like an example of like my father. You know, I use my father as an example of the things I do not want to be like. You know, not trying to be disrespectful towards him, but using him as a learning tool of this is how I should not move. And like just basically saying, taking care of the family, having investments, like all those key things that you've been saying is everything that I've been pursuing and pushing for. But I guess lately, I don't know why or understand, but I've been feeling this yearning in my heart of a wife. I've been getting I see it everywhere. Like I'll see a couple and a family, and it bothers me. But I know, like, you know, I just got to keep pushing because, you know, one day it will all come through. But that's kind of like, you just hit everything for like my life right now as we speak.
Well, that by me being so accurate will let you know that the Most High is in it and He hears you. Just be patient, be diligent, and keep your head up. And a lot of times, bro, when you look around and you see everybody got one but you and you're feeling sad, that's the adversary entering into your spirit to try to make you begin to settle for something that's not worthy of you, just to satisfy that temporary condition. Don't let it happen. Don't let it happen. I'm going to put it to you simply like this, and I mean what I'm saying, and I hope you understand. But your semen should not leave your body until you have a wife. The discipline of that will reign supreme in your life, and you have to understand it. Until the time comes that you have a wife, it should not leave your flesh. We on the same page?
Yeah, I totally agree with that, just based off of experience. Like I've noticed when I do those things, it's just like I feel out of it. I lose power, I lose strength.
Right.
I just feel like I'm off balance completely. So I've been very disciplined with that ever since I've changed everything. But it's just like I can definitely tell the difference of when I do and then when I don't.
Well, master yourself, man. That's all a part of mastering yourself that I'm speaking about. Master you. Don't let any emotion come upon you that's not good for you that you can't remove. Nothing. And never attach yourself to anything that you cannot leave. Ever. Don't never attach yourself to something that you cannot leave. because people go bad. Every once in a while, people go bad. And when that person goes bad, you need to be able to go with no attachments and keep it moving. You have to understand that. But you don't enter into a relationship with that in mind. You don't enter into a relationship saying, well, I'm only going to give a certain part of myself because if she don't work out, I need to be able to get away from her. No, you live it. You don't enter into it. It's a part of you. You give the best you can possibly give. From wherever you got it, you give it. You do your job as a man and you stay responsible for every need in the life of your family. But if the woman in your life that you are connected to and associated with has children for you, then you leave her and you take your children. She got to go, but your children didn't do anything. Take them. And you leave. But if the woman has failed to be upright before the Most High and dedicated and loyal to the Creator, and you in this situation, then don't waste your time. Don't hang around. Get up out of there and go. It all depends on what has happened too, because everybody makes mistakes. So don't think that I'm saying at the first sign of danger, run. It's not what I'm saying. It could be repeated behavior. 2-3 times, they ain't changing. So, you're just wasting your time, your energy, and your strength. And the more strength that you give to a person that doesn't deserve it, the weaker you're going to become. Because after a while, you're going to start compromising and accepting that bad behavior. Don't accept it. Talk to her once, talk to her twice. By the third time, if she's still that same person, it's time for you to go and move on. And don't be afraid. And if you got children, take them with you. That's why you got to be careful when you lay down to have children with a woman. You got to be careful. What I mean by that is you got to realize that at the time of destruction or separation, those children are supposed to go with their daddy. That's where they're supposed to go. I divorced a woman one time. I had 4 children by her. For 3.5 years, almost 4 years, those children lived right here with me in my house until the little jokers ran away. She got up in their ear, she talked to them, and I watched my cameras and watched them run across the lawn. I tried to go out and build that relationship back with them, and I got full custody of my children by law. I can go right now and go get them children right now with the police and bring them back to my house. But why? They don't want to be here. They don't want to be here. And you can't force somebody to do what they don't want to do. Why would I do that? But when you got children that are young and they're youth and they don't make decisions for themselves, you have to make the decision for them. I pray that you never have to see this. I pray that you don't. I pray that you're patient and you wait for the Most High to bring you the woman and she's the perfect woman for you. I pray that that's your outcome. But I'm preparing you that if the worst takes place, you have to be ready for that. And while you're living in a life with a woman, you give her the best that you're able to give. Provide for her, talk to her, help her, teach her, discipline her, receive from her, give to her, be just the way, give her fantasy and righteousness. That's what I'm saying. Give her fantasy and righteousness. But if chances are that she's not on a level where you are spiritually, then it's your job to raise her up to that level. She might not like it, but if she's willing, she'll accept it. And then once you raise her up mentally and spiritually, emotionally, in every way, and you're providing for her, y'all be cool. Life will be fun. All right? I pray that I help, man. I really do, man, because that's a serious question.
You really did. It shined a light on where I'm at, and I'm on the right path. Like you said, I just got to be patient and be more disciplined, like I am now, and don't get off track. Just keep pushing.
And you want to be fair in everything you do. But the last thing I want to say is this. It's extremely important. I'm going to get a little close now, so I'll make sure you hear me. It's extremely, extremely important that you be a man of your word. Whatever you say you're going to do, you do it. You do your very best to be a man of your word. Do your very best to be a man of your word. Walk in your integrity. Be a person who's convicted within themselves, and you don't need nobody to correct you. You can correct yourself because you see your errors. Jump on it and don't let it go. But if you know it's wrong, fix it. And ain't nothing wrong with apologizing if you make a mistake, because you will make mistakes. We all do. It's not degrading of a man to apologize for a mistake that he openly made. Apologize. Yo, I apologize. You know, it won't happen again. And mean it, and it don't happen again. You follow me?
Yeah.
Walk in your integrity, be an honorable man. Keep your word and live by it. And that's all the advice I can give you at this time. But you got my number, man. If you ever need to talk, just hit me up. And when you ain't got to be going through all this stuff, man, and having all this emotional baggage in you, hit a brother up. Use me. That's what I'm here for. Use me. I won't direct you wrong. I show you how to be a man, the man you're supposed to be. That's what I'll show you. That's what I'll teach you. That's it. Right?
Yep.
All right, family. We're going to take our break now. It's now 2:25. We're going to come back at 3 o'clock. Be it the will of the Most High, we'll all be back at 3 o'clock. Are there any questions, any comments for this last 5 minutes?
Yeah, I want to say something for the last 5 minutes.
Yes, sis.
I always say to young people, as well as I say to myself, whenever you're dating someone or getting to know someone, do not let sex be a part of the equation, because once you make sex to be a part of the equation, you have compromised yourself right there, because you're baffled, you get emotional. You may not have. I mean, it just messes things up. I personally have had to stop relationship just by practicing that, because in that way, as you get to know a person better without having sex with them, you're able to see their character and see what they're really made of, or what they're really about. And you're able to say, nope, you're not the one for me. And another quick thing is, like, for instance, last weekend, went to do a big job, coming home with like $500 in my hand. But then there's so much hands that are being put out that needs help. And then I say, wow, if I give this, that, and give this, that, then I'm left with nothing. It's like, seriously? I'm gonna have to really control things a lot better, because I wouldn't have anything put aside for savings, and I would not have anything put aside for retirement. So I said, you know what? These things we have to be mindful of when it comes to choosing a partner or living life, period. So my 5 minutes is up. Thank you.
I didn't say that, sis. You did.
Yeah, so we just got to be so careful what we do, the choices we make in life, and who we're making them with.
May the Most High be praised. Thank you for that advice, sis. Sound wisdom. Anyone else? Okay. So we're going to take our break, family. We're going to come back at 3:30. My apologies for earlier. I said 3 o'clock, but it's 3:30. We do have an hour break. So we'll be back at 3:30. We'll do our commandments, and then we're going to. Thank you very much. Greatly appreciate it, bro. We're going to do our commandment, and then we're going to do our class for the day, if the Creator allows it, because sometimes the commandment takes the rest of the day. But if we can, we're on Numbers, the first chapter of Numbers today. May the Most High be praised. Hope to see you all at 3:30. Go with the Most High. Shalom, shalom.
Shalom.